All right, look at the calendar. It is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. If you have been following the breadcrumbs we've been dropping for the last month, you know exactly why today is a red letter day.
It's the big one.
It is the big one. Today, Oliver Klacik turns 50 years old,
Awesome.
half a century. And, usually when a legacy artist, and I think we can safely call him that now, hits 50, the industry standard is to roll out the red carpet, release a greatest hits compilation with maybe two unreleased demos, and call it a victory lap.
Right. It's usually a cash grab. It's nostalgia packaging. It's basically remember when I was cool.
Exactly. But we aren't doing that today because Oliver isn't doing that. We are staring down the barrel of a brand new, massive retrospective album dropping today called A Dawn on the Earth. And I've got to be honest, I've been living with the advance copy you sent over for about a week now, and I'm struggling to even call this an album.
It feels like the wrong word, doesn't it?
It does. It feels heavier. It feels less like a collection of songs and more like I don't know, a crime scene investigation of a human soul.
That is a fantastic way to put it. Because if you look at the architecture of what Oliver has built here,
Hmm.
A Dawn on the Earth is essentially a moral audit.
Okay, stop there. Moral audit. That sounds intense. What do you mean by that?
Well, think about what a financial audit is. You open the books, you look at every single transaction over a specific period. You look at where you were profitable, sure, but you mostly look at where you were hemorrhaging money,
Ugh.
where you were, bankrupt.
Right.
Oliver's doing that, but with his psychology. He is taking a 30-year span of his life from the absolute trenches of 1996 to right now, today in 2026, and he is forcing those two eras into a conversation.
So he's juxtaposing the 20-year-old kid against the 50-year-old man.
He's clashing them together. I mean, he is taking raw, almost unlistable moments of nihilism from the mid-90s demos that were never, ever meant to see the light of day. And he's placing them right next to these polished, highly structured, reflective compositions from 2025 and 2026.
It's like hearing a ghost argue with a survivor.
That is exactly the mission of this deep dive. We aren't just reviewing catchy hooks today. We are measuring the psychological distance, the distance between the chaotic, self-destructive youth of 1996 and the stable, grounded, perhaps slightly terrified man of 2026. It is, at its core, a measurement of survival.
And the central tension here, the thing that keeps this from just being like a diary entry, is the struggle between the night and the dawn. Now, a simplistic reading would be, night is bad, dawn is good, Disney movie ending, sun comes up, credits roll.
Yeah, no. If you were looking for a Disney ending, you are absolutely in the wrong discography.
I figured.
In Oliver's world, the dawn isn't a magical fix. It's not the moment the hero wins. The dawn is simply the light by which you see the mess you have to clean up. It's gritty, it's hard-won, and it is entirely about maintenance.
Maintenance, that's not a very rock and roll word.
I think it's the most rock and roll word there is if you want to survive to 50.
That's a fair point, a very fair point. So here's how we are going to attack this today. We have a lot of ground to cover. We are going to start by briefly touching on the night, those demo tracks from the 90s. We have to see the basement before we can appreciate the view from the terrace, right?
You have to understand the baseline of despair. Otherwise, the optimism later on just feels cheap. It feels unearned.
Right. Then we are going to move quickly into the dawn. We are going to spend the bulk of our time analyzing exactly how this stability was built, focusing heavily on the final legacy tracks, starting with Play This Song and ending with a really deep analysis of the closer, Fighting Till the Night.
Which is where the entire philosophy of the album just crystallizes.
So let's travel back. Set the scene for me. It's 1995, 1996. We are not in a comfortable studio somewhere in LA. We are in the Balkans.
Context is everything here. You cannot understand the anger in these early tracks if you don't understand the geography. We are talking post-Yugoslavia. This is a young man in his early 20s living through the aftermath of a brutal war, dealing with sanctions, dealing with hyperinflation.
And when you say hyperinflation, I think we need to paint that picture for listeners who might just think, oh, gas is expensive. This isn't that.
No. I mean, money is paper.
Yeah.
I mean, the structures of society, the things that tell you if you work hard, you'll get ahead, have completely collapsed. The external world is fracturing. And naturally, if your world is breaking apart, your internal world follows suit.
And this gives us the opening trio of the album, the baseline of despair. Track 1 is The City of Death, written in 1996. And I have to say, even the title, it's not subtle.
Subtlety is a luxury for peacetime. This is heavy metal. It's aggressive, it's raw, it serves a specific function. It establishes the starting point of the moral audit as total internal surrender.
Surrender. It sounds so angry, not submissive.
But it's the anger of the trapped animal. It's absolute nihilism. The key imagery here is just devastating. He sings, "Only the pain is here to live."
Only the pain is here to live. That line really stuck with me. It's like he's saying pain is the only resident left in the building. Joy moved out, hope was evicted.
Exactly. And he talks about desiring burial in this city because it's his only home. He isn't looking for a bus ticket out of town. He's looking for a grave. He is defining home as a closed system of doom. He believes there is no exit. He says no one returns, no one repeats. It's a terminal diagnosis he's giving himself at age 20.
That is just terrifyingly bleak.
It's the bottom. That's the baseline.
But then right next to that, we have track 2, Hey Johnny, written a year earlier in 1995. And the sound shifts completely. We move from this thrash metal vibe to a Springsteen-esque rock ballad.
This is the cautionary tale. If the city of death is the internal feeling, Hey Johnny is the external warning. Johnny is a character, an archetype. He's the guy who had it all. Effortless success, the American dream packaged in a Balkan context.
The guy everyone wants to be.
Until they don't. Because Johnny lacked something crucial. He lacked what Oliver calls the chains.
Chains. That's interesting because usually chains are bad. Break the chains, right? That's the revolutionary cry.
In Oliver's lexicon, chains are structure. Chains are the discipline that keeps you from floating away or destroying yourself. Johnny lacked internal structure. So when the pressure hit, he chose the chemical escape. He chose dope over the struggle.
And he died for it.
He died. But the crucial part of this song, and I really want you, the listener, to pin this to your mental board because it echoes all the way to 2026, is the father's epitaph in the lyrics.
Fight as long as he can.
That's the mandate.
It's a command.
It is the moral imperative that hangs over Oliver's entire life. Johnny failed the mandate. He stopped fighting. He let the entropy win. The question of this entire album, 30 years later, is, did Oliver fail too? Or did he find a way to obey that command?
It's interesting that the third track, Where's the Justice, feels like an attempt to fight, but maybe in the wrong direction.
Right. This is the country blues ballad. And this is where he tries to externalize the blame. He adopts this lonely cowboy persona. He's searching for truth in a rigged system where, as he says, justice is murdered.
So instead of looking in the mirror, which is painful, he's pointing at the corrupt world outside.
Which, to be fair, was a valid point in 1996 Belgrade. The world was corrupt, justice was murdered. But focusing only on that is a trap. It allows you to be the victim forever. The refrain of the song is keep on riding. He's just running away.
He's not fixing anything.
He's not. So in 1996, Oliver's options are be buried, which is city of death, die from addiction like Johnny, or just run away forever like the cowboy.
That is a bleak menu of options.
It's a closed loop of despair. There's no exit ramp.
So how on earth do we get from there to the man releasing an album today? This brings us to section 2, the pivot to connection. We are jumping forward in time now. We are bridging the gap to 2025. And there is a track here, track 4, I Lost My Way, that seems to act as the hinge for this whole narrative.
This is the turning point. This is everything. If the 90s were defined by the isolated, I am in the city, I am the cowboy, I lost my way, is the birth of the we.
It's a rock track written in 2025, and it's a story song. It tells the tale of two flawed individuals meeting in the dark.
Two broken individuals. That's the key. You have a man who is numbing himself. He's dangerously close to becoming a Johnny figure. He's staring into that same abyss. And you have a woman who is seeking revenge, driven by her own anger. Both are on individual paths to destruction.
But they don't destroy each other, which is what you might expect.
No. And this is the beauty of it. The breakthrough isn't that they look at each other and say, hey, you're perfect, or you can save me. The breakthrough is the admission. It's the title of the song, I Lost My Way.
That's a very hard thing to admit, especially for a guy who spent the 90s trying to be this tough metalhead or a stoic, lonely cowboy.
It's ego death. It's total vulnerability. They acknowledge their brokenness, and then, crucially, they decide to save their souls together. It shifts the question from, how can I save my soul? Which is an impossible question for a broken person to, we can save our souls. It's the moment Oliver realizes that solitary strength is a myth. You cannot cowboy your way out of the city of death.
You need a partner.
You need a witness. You need someone to hold you accountable.
And that realization seems to lead directly into what sounds like the anthem of the album, track 5, Fight for a Dawn to Break.
This is where the personal survival turns into collective agency. He's no longer asking, who am I? He's asking, what must we do?
The imagery here is fascinating because it directly echoes the city of death. He sings, the streets are empty.
Yes. The streets are empty, people are waiting for a sign. It's that same paralysis from the 90s. But look at the response. In 1996, the response to empty streets was to lie down and die. In 2026, the response is fight for a dawn to break. He's using anger not as a weapon of self-destruction, but as a constructive tool against that paralysis.
He's saying, don't wait for the sign, be the sign.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's an anti-war song on the surface, but it's also an anti-apathy song at its core.
But then, just as we think we have the formula, we find a partner, we fight together, we win, roll credits, we get hit with track 6. Hey Brother, song from Miriam. This is a tribute to a friend lost to COVID-19. And honestly, this feels like a curveball in the album's philosophy.
It's a philosophical crisis, absolutely. Because think about it. Miriam was a guy who fought. He succeeded. He didn't fail like Johnny. He did everything right. He had the he had the fight in him.
And he died anyway.
He was taken by a random external force, a global pandemic. This forces Oliver to confront the brutal fact that you can obey the fight mandate. You can do everything right, and the universe can still be cruel and random.
That seems like it would just break the whole system. If you can do everything right and still lose, why even play the game?
And that's the nihilist trap again, isn't it? But Oliver doesn't fall for it this time. And that is the absolute sign of his maturity. He moves from the fight mandate to gratitude. The resolution of the song isn't anger or a fist shaken at the sky. It was an honor to know you. He acknowledges that stability is fragile, that the universe is random, but that the connection was still worth the cost.
It's a humble acceptance of things you can't control.
It is. It's him saying, I cannot control the length of the life, only the depth of it. And that clears the deck for the legacy. It purifies the mission.
Which brings us to the heart of our deep dive today, Section 3, The Legacy. I want to spend some real time on track 7, Play This Song, because to me, this track changes the entire texture of the album.
It's the pivot point. Everything before this was about Oliver surviving for himself. This is about Oliver transmitting something for someone else.
It was written in 2026 explicitly for his daughter, Marina. And sound-wise, we need to talk about this shift. We've had metal, we've had blues, we've had rock. This is pop rock. It's sophisticated, it's clean. It reminds me of, late era Sting.
Right. Clarity. Precision. Think about the sound of City of Death. Heavy metal, all noise, all distortion. That was Sonic armor. You wear armor when you're scared. This is clarity. He doesn't need the noise anymore.
Yeah.
He wants every single word to be heard perfectly.
And the symbolism regarding his daughter is it's undeniable. He calls her the sun that is taking care of night.
It's a direct rejection of the night on the earth phase of his life. If he is youth with the night, she is the structure, the spiritual entity that removes that darkness. She is the living antidote to the City of Death.
But what I find so moving about this song is the motivation behind it. It feels like a capstone project, like he's turning 50 and realizing he needs to create a tangible audio legacy for her.
It's practical love. It's applied love.
Yeah.
He is turning 50 today. He knows the math. He knows he won't be around forever. And he says in the lyrics, I know that you will go off to write your life.
He accepts that she will leave him.
Which is huge. The younger Oliver, the one in songs like Tell Me Why, was obsessed with keeping people close, possessing them. Don't leave me, I'm lonely. Here, the mature Oliver says, go, fly, leave me. He's giving her permission to have her own story.
But he doesn't send her out empty-handed. This brings us to what I've been thinking of as the mechanism of self-rescue.
I love that term. What do you mean by it?
Well, he knows he can't fight her battles for her forever. He knows that. Johnny's father couldn't save Johnny. Oliver knows he can't save Marina from every bad thing in the world. So instead of a shield, he gives her a tool. The tool is the song itself. Simply play this song.
It's portable home.
Yes, that's it, exactly.
That's the perfect way to put it. True parental love isn't a cage built for safety. It's a launch pad with an internal anchor. He is telling her, when you are out there and the world gets dark, because it will get dark, we've established that, you have this sonic space, you can press play, and you're home.
And in that moment, home is completely redefined. It's no longer a physical place that can be lost, like a city. It's certainly not a grave. It's a frequency she can tune into.
And it connects right back to the fight mandate from Hey Johnny. There's a key lyric here. I know that you could fight.
He's passing the torch.
He is. But notice the difference. In Hey Johnny, the mandate to fight was a curse. It was a burden. It was, you must fight to survive or you will die. Here, he's passing it on as empowerment. I know you can fight. He is ensuring she inherits his resilience, not his trauma. He always feared his chaos in the veins would destroy him, but here he is betting that his resilience is the stronger gene. That's what will live on in her.
That is a truly beautiful legacy. It's like he's metabolizing his own pain so she doesn't have to.
That's what a good father does, right? He eats the poison so the kid doesn't have to.
So, if Play This Song is the legacy for the future, the next section explores the reality of the present. Section 4, The Sound of Stability. We have two tracks here that really describe Oliver's life right now in 2025-2026. Track 8 is Just the Rain.
A Clapton-like blues anthem. Now remember, blues is usually about sorrow. My baby left me, I'm so lonesome. But here he's using the form as an anthem of defense. It's almost military in its positioning.
And the opening line sets that scene immediately. A shadow brewing in west.
He acknowledges the threat. The world is still dangerous. The shadow is brewing. He isn't pretending that the dawn means that monsters are gone forever. The geopolitical chaos, the life struggles, they are still there on the horizon.
But the response is what has changed so radically. He sings standing back to back.
A 360-degree defense. This is the total rejection of the isolation from the 90s. In the old tracks, like 3 Million Miles, he was lost and alone, drifting west. Here, the partner, his wife, Dragana, keeps them steady right on our course.
And the refrain. It is only rain, sins washing down. I want to dig into that line. It is only rain.
This is the theology of the album in one line. Think about how a trauma survivor reacts to a storm. It feels like the apocalypse. It feels personal, like a punishment.
Right, the gods are angry at me for what I did.
Exactly. But here he says, it is only rain. He is stripping the weather of its traumatic power. The sins of the past, the lies, the self-sabotage, the city of death, they are being neutralized. And how are they neutralized? By the sheer magnitude of their current commitment. He's saying, we are solid, so the rain is just weather. It's not a cosmic punishment anymore.
He's demystifying his own life.
He's normalizing it, which is the healthiest thing a person can do.
And that leads us perfectly to track 9, Lone and Simple Life. This is described as a Springsteen-like rock ballad.
Which, and this can't be an accident, creates a direct sonic mirror to, Hey Johnny.
Oh, wow, I didn't actually catch that direct connection.
It has to be intentional. Hey Johnny was the Springsteen ballad of failure and excess. Lone and Simple Life is the Springsteen ballad of victory. But, and this is the kicker, the victory looks boring to an outsider.
It does. Lone and simple. That doesn't sound like a rock star's dream. It's not a mansion and a fast car.
But this life, this boring, simple domestic life, is the dividend, is the payout for 30 years of trudging, of putting those chains on his soul to stay alive. He's saying, I fought all those demons so I could sit here and have a quiet cup of coffee with my wife. That's the prize.
And he's so brutally honest about it. He sings, you know there's no rainbow at the end.
That is radical realism.
Mm-hmm.
He is rejecting the utopian fantasies of his youth. He used to sing about a land of dreams. Now, he embraces doing better over being perfect. He's basically telling his wife, we aren't going to have a fairy tale. We are going to have a life, and that's better.
And the vision he taints. It's sitting on the terrace watching grandkids.
That is so deeply significant. Think about the narrator of The City of Death. He wanted to be buried down here. He wanted to disappear into the ground. He wanted erasure. The mature Oliver wants to sit on a terrace, visible, above ground, watching his lineage, his legacy continue. It's visibility versus erasure.
And there's a lyrical pivot in the song that I absolutely love. He changes the line from simple life to long and healthy life.
That's the pivot to health. It's the final, quiet victory over nihilism. The younger self wanted to shorten his life. He wanted the dope. He wanted the grave. The mature self wants to extend it. He wants to be healthy. He wants to stick around for as long as possible.
It sounds so simple, I want to be healthy, but for a guy who wrote City of Death, that is a revolution.
It's a miracle. It really is.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the end. Section 5, The Ultimate Thesis. Track 10, Fighting Till the Night.
This is the closer. Written in 2025. It's intimate, it's vulnerable, it's acoustic. It feels like he's whispering it to you in a living room after everyone else has gone home.
And right off the bat, we have a paradox. The album is called A Dawn on the Earth, but it ends with night. Why end on the darkness?
Because it's the only honest way to end. The dawn, that stability, that family life, is just the beginning of the work. It's not the finish line. The night death, the end of all things, is inevitable. Oliver realizes that the victory isn't in stopping the sun from setting. You can't do that. The victory is in the duration of the fight between the dawn and the night.
It's about how you fill the day.
Exactly. It's about the quality of the struggle, not the outcome.
And the vulnerability in the opening lyrics is just staggering.
I'm not afraid of the dark, but I don't mind if you keep holding me tight.
Just contrast that with the chains from the Johnny era. putting chains on my soul. Chains are violent. They are self-restraint because you don't trust yourself. You chain a monster. Holding me tight is gentle. It's mutual restraint. He no longer needs to force stability. He maintains it through connection. He's admitting, I can face the dark, but I prefer to do it with you.
It's an admission of need, not an admission of weakness. That's a perfect distinction.
Right. And then we get what I think is the most important line on the entire record, the
Yeah.
definition of success. If someone asks you, I did all right. I kept on fighting till the night.
I did all right.
Yeah,
It's such a profound understatement, isn't it?
it really is. It's not I conquered the world. It's not I won. It's just I did all right.
But in the context of, hey, Johnny, it's everything. Johnny didn't do all right. Johnny surrendered. Johnny overdosed on the dream and the dope. I did all right means I survived moral collapse. I didn't become Johnny. This is the epitaph fulfilled. Johnny failed the mandate. Oliver succeeded because he just kept fighting.
There is a nuance in the lyrics that I really want to drill into. He says, if they nail me for refusing lies, I will still fight them through the night.
Through the night.
Yeah.
That preposition is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
Why is that so important? Why not till?
Because till the night implies you fight until you die, and then it's over. The fight ends with you. But through the night implies you are fighting for something that lasts beyond you. It implies integrity, refusing lies. Remember, his early work and the political climate he grew up in was obsessed with life and lies. He felt he was drowning in deceit. Here at 50, he commits to truth, refusing lies, even if they nail him for it.
Even at great cost.
Even at total cost. He is maintaining the moral high ground, even in total darkness when no one is watching. That is the definition of character.
But he doesn't pretend it was easy or that he's somehow cured. He says, everything aches, feeling like a stranger in town.
And that's the brutal honesty of it. The stability didn't erase the scars. He still feels like an outsider. The lonely cowboy is still in there somewhere. He still feels like a stranger. But, and this is the but that saves his life, he is an anchored outsider.
And the anchor is right there in the next line. I look in your eyes, I just know that everything still makes sense.
That's the antidote. The world makes him feel like a stranger. The news makes him feel like a stranger.
Yeah.
His own past makes him feel like a stranger. But his partner's eyes make sense of it all. It's the specific human connection with Dragana that neutralizes the cosmic alienation.
It's like she is the translator for a world he still doesn't quite understand.
Exactly. She translates the chaos into home.
So what does this all mean? As we sit here on February 25th, 2026, listening to these tracks, how do we synthesize this entire 30-year arc?
I think we have to review the journey. We started in the city of death in 1996, where home was a grave and the only truth was pain. We ended in Fighting Till the Night in 2026, where home is a shared, defended reality. It's a song for a daughter. It's a terrace with a wife. It's a hand to hold in the dark.
The fight was redefined.
Completely. It evolved from a desperate, panic battle for survival against self-destruction into a humble, daily practice of gratitude and maintenance for his family. He went from fighting his own demons to fighting for his people.
It's a profound shift. It's moving from I must survive to we must endure.
It is. And that's a shift that takes 30 years. You can't fake that. You have to live it.
I want to leave our listeners with the final provocative thought to sort of chew on. We've talked a lot about freedom today. The young Oliver, and especially the lonely cowboy, thought freedom was running away. 3 million miles west. No roots, no connections.
Right. Don't fence me in. The classic myth of freedom.
But the mature Oliver seems to think freedom is commitment. It's building the fence yourself.
Which raises the question, does true freedom lie not in ending the fight, but in choosing the right person to fight alongside?
And is the dawn not a moment of arrival, not a destination, but simply the clarity to see that the work must continue?
I think that's exactly it. The dawn isn't the end of the movie. It's just the light by which you work. The sun comes up so you can see what needs to be fixed today.
That is something to sit with. As you listen to A Dawn on the Earth, which is out right now, happy birthday, Oliver, sit with that concept of shared endurance. It's not about being perfect. It's about doing all right and keeping on fighting.
Keep digging.
Keep digging. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.